afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of MSME Masterclass. It's a pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's session, Ms. Vandana Rao, founder partner at FIMAS, a finance consultancy specializing in industrial finance solutions for small and medium enterprises. Vandana brings over 17 years of experience in manufacturing, banking, and the SME sectors. Her journey began with a degree in commerce followed by a diploma in business administration and management, and has been marked by a consistent focus on empowering businesses to make smarter financial decisions. Her deep understanding of cost structures, funding mechanisms, and market dynamics has enabled her to guide MSMEs in building effective, globally competitive product pricing strategies. Throughout her career, Vandana has played a pivotal role in advising export-oriented MSMEs on balancing price and profitability, helping them navigate international regulations and adapt to evolving market fluctuations. A practical strategic approach integrates financial insight with operational realities, ensuring businesses can align their pricing with broader strategic goals while remaining agile in dynamic global markets. In today's session, Vandana will share her expertise on smart pricing strategies for competing internationally, an area critical for any enterprise aiming for sustainable growth and market leadership. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Vandana Rao to the Masterclass. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, my first question to you is, how can small businesses accurately calculate their total cost base, including hidden costs, before pricing for export markets?
The total cost base is comprising of the direct material costs, labor, manufacturing costs, and proportion of some of the administration and marketing costs. Okay, so the finance cost, if there is an export packing credit line already there, then that cost also should be considered. So the hidden cost can be anything like tariffs or customs or import duties if the importing country, as per the importing country. Then you may have to take into consideration the currency fluctuation also. The company will have to consider these hidden costs plus the currency fluctuation plus the tariffs and other considerations, and then it has to provide for 2 to 3% of compliance. If there is any compliance, if there is shortcoming, there again you will have to provide for it. So before pricing for export markets, all these things have to be considered.
Okay, and ma'am, what are the company's most frequent pricing missteps when expanding globally, and how can they be corrected easily?
Yeah, generally not having a specific pricing strategy is the first mistake. Then comes the global markets. So they think it is similar to the local markets, which is not so. Then ignoring the local demand for the product and underestimating the strength or nature of local competitors, which is very important. You should have considered the local competitors' strengths, which is very important. And if there are any cheaper alternatives, that is also to be considered. And then again, local tariffs has to be considered very much. And as usual, the things like how you do the costing pricing. Similarly, hidden compliance costs also to be considered. If these are not considered, then the problem is there. The correction, how it can be corrected is by looking into the local culture and making the product suitable. And competitor pricing, when you compare the competitor pricing, you can price your product. And positioning the product strategically and analyzing the full landed cost and consulting the local legal tax consultants and advocates before arriving at the final pricing. So all these things have to be considered.
Yeah. Got it. Now, ma'am, can you share with our attendees some examples of Indian firms that have successfully customized their pricing strategies to suit regional preferences or market maturity?
Yeah. I can share two companies which are doing well even today. For example, Maruti Suzuki, they adopted a tiered pricing strategy. That is, in the urban markets, which matured faster when compared to the rural markets, which were still emerging, they launched entry-level models like Alto 800, for price sensitive markets, while they launched Sears in the urban segment, thus dominating the markets at both the levels. Then comes I can give you the example of Amul. Amul adopted what for money strategy, that is what they call for such strategy, where in smaller towns they maintained low margins and high volumes for their dairy products and kept their prices affordable as they had stock keeping units in the local regions. So it was easily accessible for them and they saved on the transportation costs. So they could afford selling it at a lower price. There they captured. Then whereas in international markets like USA, Gulf and Australia, they consider where this Amul product was considered as ethnic or specialty products, premium pricing was adopted. So that strategy helped them, for example, in ghee, paneer and traditional dairy products, they adopted the premium pricing strategy. In neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Nepal, where the per capita income was very low, they had the value-based pricing. Okay. And in Gulf countries, they had smaller packs at affordable prices. For these migrant workers, they had to buy for smaller packs. And for family value packs, they had bigger niche also, family value packs for the affluent customers. So they catered to both of them. So the pricing was done and effectively to both the segments. So this is how it is a success story for them. And today also they are very successful with this type of strategy.
Correct. Now, ma'am, talking about volatility in terms of payment terms, can you tell our attendees in what ways do currency volatility and payment terms impact pricing, and how can businesses plan this better?
Yeah, actually, this requires a lot of knowledge about the futuristic currency volatility, how the currency will behave. So we need to take into consideration. So currency volatility is the major uncertain thing in the pricing of exports. If the local currency weakens, it means that exports can get a boost because the local goods get cheaper. So using the hedging instruments and entering into forward or future contract, this problem can be, to a very great extent, it can be resolved. And if you deal in such times with Russia, where the ruble is not so volatile when it compared to Indian rupee, definitely it is a good option.
Okay. Moving on, ma'am, can you tell our attendees what's the best way to understand how foreign customers perceive the value of a product or a service?
Yeah, the foreign customers perceiving the value of a product or a service by different people in different regions, different countries, is the criteria is based on so many considerations. Like first of all, the customer should be willing to pay. That is the first thing. How does he do that? To understand this, it is important to consider the price the foreign customer is willing to pay is differing from region to region. Why? Because his social, cultural, economic conditions are different and his requirements are different. Secondly, brand acceptance. Brand acceptance, for example, Fab India, I can tell you, it's an ethnic brand, as you know, handcrafted clothing and home products they make. So it has a fan base among foreign customers who love sustainable and handmade goods. It is interesting, they have stores in Dubai also. They have in Singapore also. And even collaborations are happening even in Singapore, in Europe. This shows that the international acceptance is there. So how the foreign customers perceive the value of the product is First of all, what is the requirement? What is their need or what is their interest? And second is the branding. If it is known to them, then it becomes easily acceptable. But however, all these things now it depends upon the for all these doing all this, whether the presence is required, how to capture that market. Before doing all that, any company, if it is intending to start its business, it has to first do the survey and research. That is the first thing which the export-oriented company should be doing, to understand the lifestyle. Then they can go ahead with this.
Now, ma'am, could you also help us understand or explain rather the cost plus versus value-based pricing with real-life scenarios where each has been applied successfully?
Yeah, cost plus value, plus pricing scenario. Pricing is something like the cost of the product plus the margin. That is the markup to ensure a profit. That is what is called the cost plus pricing. So in an Indian textile export company that produced cotton fabrics for international markets, the company followed cost plus pricing strategy. So what they considered was, first is the visibility, and then fixed a markup on that. And to achieve the profit margin, the company had to ensure profitability regardless of market fluctuations. It had to, like, by covering the production and operational costs. So by knowing the full production and cost and calculating the reasonable markup, the company could stay competitive in the global market. So even with the fluctuation in the exchange rates, or even the tariffs or the taxes, or even the shipping costs, in spite of that, they were competitive. So that is called the cost plus pricing strategy. Okay. Now coming to value-based pricing. See, value-based pricing is simple. Value is perceived by the customers here. For example, Apple, if you say, when Apple releases a new iPhone, no, it doesn't price it based on the cost of the parts. So instead, its prices are based on consumers' belief in the product, the product's worth. When they say, "Are Apple ka product hai to," they know, yeah, we have to pay whatever price. They do not go into details. They do not see the parts. They just go by the brand name, brand prestige, design, innovation, what they have made. If you see the product, you get that confidence. So the name, brand, and the looks, innovation, what they have done, and the how they have the ecosystem, how they are integrated with the present scenario, what a customer needs, how much they have studied, and what is given to the customer is value for the price, right? So that is called the value price. So actually Apple captures huge margins because customers perceive unique value, not just a phone. It is not a phone. They are giving, that's what I was saying, it is value for the item. They are experiencing the value for the price they pay.
Now, moving on, ma'am, what are some of the reliable methods or tools for gathering competition pricing data in overseas markets?
You can include like precinct price to spy ये सब है. You can always use it. But generally, pricing data can be gathered from market research, which is very, very in-depth. You have to do it. And with wide sample size. Okay. And preferences and value perception, like what we discussed earlier, the value perception is very important. You have to value that more, understand the market. Then web scraping, involving extraction of price of products from competitors' website. You can get the prices from the competitor website. For example, even the specification. See, you have to compare with the same product. You cannot compare with two different products or maybe nearby. Aisa nahi. You have to compare with the same products. So that you will get it. Of course, the data again. Here, exposure and caution for mainly we have to think of how and from where the data is got. That is very important. How dependable the data is. And then finally, we can make a SWOT analysis versus the competitor analysis. So these things, if we take care, the methods are there. Of course, the on the nets you can find the precinct and price to spy where we can get a comparison of the same.
Correct. So ma'am, how should businesses account for cultural expectations and buying behaviors when pricing across different countries?
Yeah. See, when you price across countries, first of all, the cultural behavior, cultural lifestyle, everything differs. We have to first consider that. Okay, what is a luxury in the local market may be a basic necessity in another condition. That is the first thing we should understand. So the value perception itself changes. What the luxury is there is a need in another country. So naturally, you have to be considering that first. Then again, when you say the color, numeric value, symbols and all, that is considered. For example, if a product has to be having a particular color in a particular country, so it can be it need not be acceptable in another country. So you have to understand the likes and dislikes of a particular section and the social lifestyle there. Then the same, there may be local issues which may influence the buying pattern, such as it can be an individual buying pattern or a collective buying pattern, or even the language may be a problem. Like some words are used very easily, which are not acceptable in other countries. Some words. So you have to be, when you do some trying to sell in another country, you should know how to market. The language should be acceptable to them. You should convey in the language they understand and the language they accept. So that is how you can capture the market, and that will be the expectation of the countries. So when you price, also price comes later. Once you decide on how and acceptable it is your product, then pricing becomes easy. Price will come later. The people will accept it more easily if it is accepted after you take into account all these things. Yeah.
Any budget-friendly digital tools, ma'am, that can help test or optimize pricing for new international markets that a brand is venturing into?
Yeah. Okay. Actually, there are digital tools like Google Optimize, Price Intelligently, and SurveyMonkey, and Hotjar, which I know few of them only. Maybe there are many other budget-friendly digital tools which we can use to optimize pricing for international markets.
How can export incentives or government schemes factor into pricing decisions to stay ahead in a competitive global market?
Yeah. See, there are government incentives, many government incentives keeping on coming, offering for supporting the export-oriented companies, for tax exemptions, reduced tariffs, financial subsidies, and then for businesses for exporting of goods, particular type of industry, they have lot of subsidies. Of course, they can save on to reduce production or shipping costs, and it may help you in lowering the prices also. But for pricing decisions, it is better to avoid such subsidies, because in the long term, the cash inflow is very uncertain. So some government offers low interest loans or some guarantees for businesses engaged in export activities, the financial assistance can reduce the upfront cost of expanding into international markets. So, to stay competitive globally, you need to identify available incentives, take only those incentives which are more taking care of the currency fluctuations. And there is no gap. Like the incentives will be given for a particular period of time, but you may not be able to use it within that particular time because your transaction will be happening much later than the incentive is you are able to enjoy the incentive. So ये सब चीज थोड़ा सा it affects the exports.
Noted. Ma'am, now can you walk us through a real example where a service-based company from India tailored their pricing for an international client?
So, a very good example is Tata Consultancy. So they are leading global IT services providers, so consulting and business solutions. They have a lot of broad range of clients across the world, across industries, including finance, retail, healthcare, manufacturing, in all the countries. So TCS has been able to successfully capture a broad range of clients from different regions while maintaining its competitiveness. How do they do that? They have clients in North America, Europe, and they are willing to pay even premium for specialized high quality services. So how they did this, they understood the need for flexibility in pricing based on how the particular geography, where it is located. They understood the local market conditions and the client's budget. So devised the pricing accordingly. They made tailored projects, packages for them. Then local partnerships they had and cost sharing models they had. So they came up with cost sharing models and then effectively managing the currency fluctuations also. So EA sub strategy TCS adopted and today they are number one in IT across the world. So this is where they have a very big market share in both high cost and low cost regions.
Now, ma'am, talking about small scale experiments, can you tell our attendees what small scale experiments can a business run to validate a pricing strategy before fully committing?
What they can do is they can have small quantities in specific areas, samples to test the water. Okay. Then use base models and find how many more features can be added to it. Okay. And then value proposition दे सकते हैं based on that. So what happens is cost and price effectiveness will be there. It is a win-win situation. Then new product they have to test in India first, in local markets. Then introduce in exports. It is always best to test in the Indian scenario, local markets. Yeah.
Is it better to maintain consistent pricing across countries or just adjust based on local economic conditions? What are your thoughts?
Oh, no. It depends upon the product. Consistent pricing is not possible at all. Absolutely. Consistently, because first of all, it depends since local economic conditions, culture and everything, language, ethics differ. So it is difficult to manage same pricing, of course, and you don't need to adjust on the prices either. You don't need to compromise. You need to manage pricing it in a strategic way. It need not be adjusted. What I mean to say, yeah.
Okay. Now, ma'am, how can manufacturers ensure logistics, custom duties, and last mile delivery costs are priced in without eroding the profit margins?
See, he can enter into a long-term contract with a freight carrier. Then he can appoint a CHS. That is, he can outsource a person, an expert for doing the same, or insulate from last mile logistics. Like he can say, I will do only up to this port. The rest of the things you do it. Clearing agents रहते हैं ना, इधर तक put I'll bring, from there you look after. So from there also he can like ensure logistics and customs duty. उसके ऊपर he can restrict his responsibilities. But of course, with some logic and strategy, he cannot like keep changing. Policies होना चाहिए. Then study the importing countries' history on stability of customs and imports and tariffs. He has to understand that. Without understanding that, he cannot arrive at a plan. He has to plan and strategize his logistics, basically. And have tie-ups.
Got it. And what is a good framework for determining whether a product is considered premium, mid-range, or budget in different markets?
See, it depends. Again, the same what I had told. See, premium means it depends upon, in India, for example, local markets. Today, we may consider most of the houses do not have. I can give a daily example. For any household appliances, you can say that the dishwasher as such is not a need or affordable. You can call either ways. It is not a compulsion to have a dishwasher. More or less like washing machine has become a need and a affordable thing. Dishwasher will take some more time. But in other countries, it is a package along with the house. It is there. It is a normal lifestyle. So because they do not have any other mode to get that work done. So it depends. So framework for determining whether product is considered premium. In India, we can call dishwasher as a premium. Whereas in other countries, they may be calling it as a need. That is main required. So it is not need based. So you cannot, the same product can be described mid-range, premium. So what happens is the pricing of that product differs in different countries. Here in India, it may be priced a little higher. It may be priced lower in different countries because outside India, the volume is high. When the volume is high, naturally the price will be low. Here the users are less, the production is also less, and the price is high because there is no demand. So it is always in relation to the demand. So naturally, premium as to price, as to volume, mid-range as to price, as to volume, and budget. Budget means definitely in out of India, budget items are different. In India, budget items are different. So it depends upon the market. It depends upon innovativeness. See, here there are different types of products. Here also we get for different ranges. But it will have semi-automatic, you may call it. So in there will be a dryer separate. So again, you will have a different framework for determining whether this product is a premium or mid-range or what, depending upon the market. It is not specifically, you cannot address this.
And ma'am, according to you, have there been any instances where underpricing or overpricing drastically has affected the company's entry into a global market? And what were the learnings, if you have any examples like that?
Yeah. Very clear example is Uber. Uber, they did lot of underpricing. They entered China. Then they resisted. Markets resisted their entry. They could not enter because they heavily subsidized their rides. Then they even the drivers' rides as well as the costing was reduced. Ultimately, they had to sell it to Chinese. Why? Because subsidizing too aggressively also will backfire on them. So that is why in highly competitive markets, we should never underprice. वो सस्टेनेबल नहीं होता, दैट इज नॉट पॉसिबल. टेस्ला का ओवर प्राइसिंग हुआ था. सो पीपल लाइक टेस्ला, it was affordable in US and other places, but not in China. But they compared with the local brand. They had in China they had a local brand, same as Tesla. So it was overpriced in China. So again they had to go back. Tesla also had to go back. So what was the learning is the long-term strategy requires price flexibility. So Tesla could not take to price cuts and could not enter the Chinese market because of this. So they had to go back.
Moving on to the next question, how does pricing strategy align with overall brand positioning when aiming for international credibility?
The branding is mainly visibility and how it is accepted and how much credibility you are enjoying in that particular country. So many companies now they leverage on this. But to establish a brand, you need to do a lot of market research. First of all, brand established ho jayega, then all the things fall in place. The pricing strategy becomes very easy. Moment your brand owns a name, pricing strategy becomes very easy. So, for this, the only solution is marginal costing. So this can be worked out on marginal costing method that anyway will enable the pricing to be more competitive and successful.
Right. Now, ma'am, my last question to you is, when competing in highly saturated sectors abroad, how can smaller players find a balance between affordable pricing and staying profitable?
In a saturated market now, smaller players find it very difficult to enter first. Sustaining comes later. Enter karna difficult, first of all. For that, what they have to do is they have to be profitable at the gross contribution level. What they can contribute into the present market, that they have to first ascertain. Only when that is clear, then they can adopt flexible pricing, client-centric approach, and profitable approach will automatically come by doing this. So what they have to do is sales support. After sales support, they can adopt. They can give after sales. That is a cream thing which they can offer to enter. And if they are already an established company, already an established brand, if you have to compete with them, you need to give them some frills. So simple as that, like you can offer like after sales support de sakte hain, subscription model kar sakte hain. All these things and any continuous revenue generating models they can introduce, and they can focus on niche markets. So by doing all such small changes, they can definitely enter and establish and become a renowned brand, even in a competitive, and small players can become more competitive in a bigger scenario. So international markets enter करना उतना difficult नहीं है. They can enter. So and sustain also. Yeah.
And with that, we've come to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your detailed insights on a topic which is so critical for MSMEs, which is smart pricing strategies. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, dear.
For the people who are online, if you'd like to view the current episode or if you've missed any part of the previously made episodes, please go on YouTube, type GSW1 MSME, and you will find all the episodes uploaded there. Thank you once again, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Thank you.